Hey guys, Chelsie Kenyon here with www.chelseakenyon.com. So today I want to talk to you guys about self-development. I know, exciting stuff, right? If you're watching this video, you're probably into self-development because a lot of my stuff is about self-development. So what exactly is self-development? Why do we need it? How can it transform your business? Let's really dig into the meat and potatoes of self-development. Now, self-development is exactly what it says. It's developing yourself. So sometimes, that can seem kind of vague because basically anything that you do to better yourself is considered self-development. But how do we go about that? How do we figure out exactly what areas we need to develop and strengthen or do away with? And that actually can be as simple as making a list. All you got to do is make a list of your top 10 strengths and top 10 weaknesses. Now, depending on whether or not you're doing self-development just for personal reasons or whether you want to do self-development to build your business, that can kind of change a little bit of your top 10. So when you're making your top 10 list, kind of think, okay, am I thinking of this kind of from a business perspective or more from a personal perspective? And it's okay to mix the both however you want to do it. Really not any major rules here, okay? So you're just going to make sure that you get that top 10 list of strengths and top 10 list of weaknesses. So first of all, take a look at your strengths, okay? These are the things that you have nailed. You are already a master of these things, these strengths that you have. You already kind of have a good feel on them, so it's really nothing that you have to worry about. So these are things that you can kind of push to the side and just enjoy those aspects of yourself because you've already got those things nailed. What we want to focus on is the top 10 list of weaknesses. And the reason why I like for you to make the list of both, even though the strengths we're really not going to focus on today. It's always good to really analyze what your strengths are and how, and how you can use those strengths to teach others and coach others. So it's important that you also know what you are good at and what you have mastered so that you can begin to show others how to do that, because your strengths might be somebody else's weaknesses and vice versa. So it's always nice to know what your strengths are so that you can help others in those areas. Okay, so back to the weaknesses. This is where we need to work on ourselves, okay? And of course, you could make a list of 100 or 1,000,000 weaknesses. We've all got weaknesses, but I want you to focus on the top 10. Or the top 5, if you want to make it a little bit more simple, the top 5, top 3, whatever. Again, no really exact rules here. It's just kind of, 10 is a good number for me. So make your list of top 10 weaknesses. Now, these are the areas that you have got to focus on because you want to bring yourself to the next level. And that's all self-development is looking at our weak spots and figuring out how to grow those so that we can master those areas and they can then become our strengths. So it's just about turning your weaknesses into strengths, or at least heading that direction, right? You may never completely master your weak areas, but at least we're going to try. So now that you have your top 10 list of weaknesses, you're just going to go through and you're going to write kind of where you need to take it to the next level. So let's say if one of your weaknesses is kind of jumping to conclusions. Jumping to conclusions, maybe you kind of think worst case scenario. Then you're going to want to just make a little note to the side of that says, from now on, I am going to think a little bit before I jump to that conclusion, or I'm going to jump to the best possible conclusion from here on out. So you're just going to take that kind of negative weakness and you're going to flip it and turn it into a positive strength. And that is going to be your guideline for your self-development. Now, this is always going to evolve and change over time because you are going to start to master things and maybe some of the things that you thought were a strength turned out maybe aren't so much, So this is definitely something that is always going to be a work in progress. This is never something that's set in stone or, this is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. Not even. This is something that definitely changes and progresses, and it's something you're constantly going to work on. So definitely don't write this in stone. Think more along the lines of a chalkboard, something where you can erase and rewrite. Okay, so now that you've got your 10 weaknesses, you've got your 10 ideas on kind of where you want to take things. Now it's just about getting from point A to point B. That can happen so many ways. It can just be your own mindset. It can be your own self, just consciously making changes. So like I said, if you have a problem with jumping to a negative conclusion, then you can actually just start kind of being more conscious and more aware, and every time you start to feel yourself jumping to that negative conclusion, you can kind of back it off a minute and go, okay, what is actually the best possible thing that could happen here? Let's focus on that. And you can make these changes, and so you can do your self-development just by changing your mindset. So that is one quick, easy, very effective way that you can start working on your top 10 list. Another way is to seek out an expert in that area. If you're looking to bring more positivity into your life, go on YouTube, go on Google, find out the experts in these areas and follow them. Follow them on social media, buy their books, watch their webinars. There's a lot of free information out there to where you can pretty much do self-development completely for free. If you do decide to purchase, if you do decide you want to go the book route, you can either buy them on, Amazon or something like that, or you can join one of those audiobook programs. Audible has one. I'm sure, more will pop up over time. These kind of things tend to change, but look up audiobook subscriptions, monthly subscriptions. Amazon has a monthly subscription as well. And that way you can constantly be refreshing, your books, your library, what it is that you want to be reading. Webinars are also great. Webinars are a little tricky because oftentimes webinars are actually kind of a commercial to lead into a paid for program that they're offering that you will need to pay for. But there's usually one or two tidbits tucked in there, kind of freebies, if you will, that you can get out of the webinar, even though it is kind of like a long commercial for their paid program. So they do usually offer some sort of little tidbit. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching it. So they give away that little piece of free advice to get you to watch that so that hopefully you'll buy the paid program. Now, whether you buy the paid program, that's on you. I've never, really bought a paid program that I felt was really, I don't want to say worth it, but kind of, I don't know. I think I just didn't really know what I was looking for. Sometimes it's hard to buy programs that are geared towards direct sales, because a couple that I joined were more geared towards somebody who actually made a product or had, was making e-courses or had something like that. And so it didn't really fit into my business model. So anyways, so don't feel like my whole point on that wild birds whatever. I can't even talk today. I went off on some wild tangent now. I'm back on track. All I was trying to say is that you don't have to purchase whatever it is that they're selling on the webinar unless you really do think, it will help you. And if you have the money lying around, go for it. Awesome. Okay, so those are some ways that you can start working on your self-development. Now, what happens when you start doing this is you do start having some major shifts in your life. You start, because you're really becoming a better person. You're taking your weaknesses and you're actively taking action to, get those out of your weaknesses and become your strengths, or if not your strengths, at the very least, just, not your weaknesses anymore. And this could be even, just getting on video, like what I'm doing right now. That could be your weakness. Maybe you have fear about that. So that could be on your list as well. And you're just going to take these things and you are going to start creating more positive and more confidence and figuring out what you need to do to get there. So I always recommend writing this stuff down. Writing it down will make a huge difference rather than just trying to think of it, because once you write it down and see it, it's going to make a lot more sense what steps you need to take yourself to that next level. And again, once you start doing this and you start shifting your mindset and you start paying attention to what these experts have to say about your weaknesses and how you can make changes in your everyday life, you are going to experience life-changing, epic, mind-altering or mindset-altering things that are just going to blow you away. You're going to begin to attract people to you. You're going to just begin living a more positive, enriched, empowered life. It's just going to be incredible what can happen when you really start doing self-development. And I know that word gets thrown out there a lot, and, oh, let's do self-development. Let's read this book on direct sales. And all that stuff is fantastic, and you should be reading books about your industry for sure. I mean, the more information, the better. But self-development really gets down to the core of you as an individual, and you and yourself and your weaknesses, and how you can take those weaknesses and eliminate those weaknesses out of your life and become a more positive and, just have a better life. And that's what self-development can do for you. So I highly encourage you to get out that pen and paper, write down that top 10 list, and start working on yourself and growing and shifting and changing. I promise you will not regret it, okay? We will see you on the next video, and I will talk to you later.